Well, this is Scott, and this is
Capri.
Capri, and this is our little combined journey. 7 years cancer-free so far, so 7-year survivor.
What a blessing.
I'll take you back to the beginning. I was a gym rat, working out every day, trying to go for my first amateur bodybuilding competition. It's not easy, dieting, stuff like that, but it's something I wanted to do. And started having some problems about 3-4, I think it was just 4 months before the competition. Saw my doctor, and he said, you're lifting too much weight, having too my problems. So I was like, okay, fine. Long story short, my birthday was coming up. I was about to turn 50. And he said, why don't we do, the test, the old man test? And I said, sure. And it was after that, they found the cancer. It was colon cancer, colorectal cancer. That kind of, when I heard it, when the doctor called us, we were getting, believe it or not, we were getting ready to go on a trip to see family in California.
Right.
And it was 3-4 days before Thanksgiving, 2014. And the lady called and said that I had cancer. And when I hung up the phone, Capri was on the bed, packing, and she goes, so, you could see she was, it was nervous. And when I said, it's cancer, I've never seen a look like that before.
Well, it was hard. We were at the holidays, so it wasn't a very happy moment.
She kind of went blank, and I'm sitting there staring at her, and she goes, well, what do we do? And I'm like, I don't know, So we started, the first thing we decided was, I said, I tell you what, her family, she's from California. So I said, why don't you call your family, and no texting, no emails, you got to call them and tell them voice.
Exactly.
This is what's happening. This is why we're not coming to Thanksgiving. And this is, we don't know the next steps, but this is where we are. And I will call my family. So I called my mom first because my dad had passed away a year prior. And then I called my brother and 2 sisters. And of course the family rallied. And now it was like, right after hearing that, it was like, I tell everybody when I talk to them about it, it was like driving a car down the road. You're on a nice, calm road, and you kind of have your life planned out. You can see the next exit, which is kids or whatever. And the next exit after that is, job change. And, at the end of the road is maybe retirement and a nice, sunny vacation on a boat. And when someone says you have cancer, it literally, like if someone takes the steering wheel and just jerks it, and now you're going down a road, you have no idea where you're going, and you're going fast, and it's scary. And it just, I was in a tailspin. So I started off my journey here. We live in a small town in Georgia, and I started here. And of course, it was kind of quick. As soon as the doctors knew that I was officially diagnosed with cancer, right, the calls started showing up. This is your next appointment. This is your next appointment. This is your next appointment. This is where you got to go.
Bam, bam, bam.
It's like a script had been written. And I was so out of sorts. I was like, okay. And I just kind of blindly started following the path. And it quickly became apparent that it was not the path I needed, because the doctors were contradicting themselves. Capri was in a couple of the meetings, and the consults were like, the first one was, the guy was looking at the thing. He said, well, you need to get your affairs in order. Right there, with Capri. She remembers it. And I was like, wait, what? And so anyway, long story short, we said, you know what, this is probably not where we need to go. So I called, first thing I did, call your mom. And, and my mom lives in a larger town in Georgia. And she said, oh, no, you need to come here. So we went to another location and I had my surgery there, it went well. But then when the chemo started, it went poorly again. I was in the ER. I had 3 infusions. I was in the ER the second and the third one, and they had to restart my heart on the second one.
Didn't go very well.
And I told Capri, I said, you know what? I said, I think I'm done. I'm not going to do the chemo anymore because I'm going to survive the cancer, but I'll probably, the chemo is going to do me in. And she didn't like that answer.
No, not a good answer.
And so she started looking, and she was frantically looking, and I was done. I was giving up, and I figured I'd take my chances. And she came to me, she goes, hey, there's this new place in Atlanta called Cancer Treatment Centers of America. It had just kind of opened. It had been open maybe a year.
If that.
And she goes, you need to call them. You need to call them. You need to call them. And I was like,
what's the worst that could happen?
Right.
They tell them the exact same thing, or I don't know, maybe they give a little bit of hope on the process of what we're doing.
So I said, okay, why not? So I went to the website and I clicked the button, and this video chat popped up, kind of like what we're doing now. And the lady was nice, and I didn't have a camera. She couldn't see me, but I could see her fine. She was really nice. And she goes, okay, what's going on? So I kind of told her basically what I told you. Then she said, you know what? Give me your insurance information. Let's just see, what we can do. And I said, okay. So I did. It was about an hour-long call. At the end of the hour, she said, you're approved. We've got a slot for you. When can you come in? And Capri was like,
this is a good thing.
Go now. And I said, well, give me a week, so I kind of procrastinated. And so we went, and all I can tell you is I'm sitting here now probably because of that decision. Because I got there, I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect.
The experience was so much different than every place else we went,
Traditional
very different
medicine versus the way CTCA does it is like night and day. You don't have to question things. They actually talk to you and talk with you, not at you. I call it the door hanger approach. And that happened to me when I was going in Columbus and here. The doctor would come in and would hang on the door. Is everything okay? If you need anything, talk to my physician's assistant, and then they would go out. So that was the door hanger. Here at CTCA, the doctor comes in, they sit down, they shut the door, they have an assistant with them most of the time with a little laptop or something. And as we're having a conversation, he's not telling me stuff, he's giving me a conversation.
He's writing everything down.
The assistant is documenting all this stuff.
Getting all the information.
And it was really cool because I was noticing things. I'm in IT, so I'm just a detail nut. So when the doctor would leave, he asked me, is it okay to go? I said, sure. And then the next one would come in, they'd move the little flag outside the door from green to yellow to blue, different colors. So they know which specialty was there talking. It would also tell the people outside the door, someone's in the room and they're talking with this particular specialty person. So it was, no words were spoken, but the information was right there, just a simple color.
But the blessing was the next person that came in knew exactly what they talked to my husband about at the last conversation. I mean, there was conversation and they knew what was going on, which was a blessing.
Right. I mean, they're not asking you the same silly questions over and over, which I think expedited stuff. So I started my chemo there, and we talked about the chemo, and the chemo, I can tell you, from my experience, is probably the most brutal aspect of the cancer experience. I mean, I'm sure some people have, okay experiences. Like I said before, I was at the very beginning of my weightlifting competition, and I was about 220, 225, somewhere in that neighborhood, 8% body fat. I was doing really good. And after the 6th or 7th infusion, they weighed me and I was down to 143.
It was thin.
Yeah, it was not good. They threatened to put a feeding tube in. I didn't want, so I started eating. The problem was the chemo kills your taste buds. At least the one I was taking kills your taste buds. And then if nothing tastes good, why bother eating? So, it was kind of a circle, but I've got things like that. Anyway, the end of it, I started getting better. The cancer was gone. I talked to the people at CTCA, and I can't tell you how inspirational it was, not just the procedures, but how they handled it, the approach.
It
And
worked as a team, I think.
I mean, it was a holistic approach. They treated the person, not the cancer. And I forget the lady's name, but I asked her, I said, is there anything that I could do to help get the word out about this place? You know, that how, you know, because people need to know. And she said they had just started up this thing called Cancer Fighters. And I said, okay, send me the information. That was in 2015. Yeah, 2015. And so I went through the little training course and whatnot, and I've been doing it ever since. I've spoken to probably, what, 500, 450.
Easy.
I mean, I can't keep track, quite a few people. I don't do it for the number. I do it just to get the word out. But I just want to let people know, you know, I'm not special. I'm Joe Average. I just, you know, middle-aged guy. I'm sticking to middle-aged. You know, I eat bad food just like everybody else. You know, I went through some tough times, probably didn't eat, you know, the best or take care of myself, stuff like that. And I was able to pull through. And it was because of the care, help that I got there. They listened. And me personally, I'm a man of faith. They prayed with me. I had prayer. And I believe that was a very important aspect. The other thing is my family rallied. I had a very tight-knit support group. Capri was the ringleader of all that, because I'll be honest, there were days that I was so weak I couldn't even get out of bed. And she would help me out of bed to go to the restroom, or she'd bring me dinner in bed, or, you know, and then of course I could talk about the chemo brain, what happens to that. I couldn't remember anything. She was keeping track of everything, pills, when I ate, you know, stuff like that. So without a caregiver right there, I mean, she probably went through the worst part of it than I did. I just took the medicine. She had to deal with the after effects of me 24/7. So anyway, it can be done, but I'm telling you, you've got to trust the way that CTCA does it, because it's completely different and it's the way it should be done. You know, other people ask about the experience there. I think my biggest thing was it was all in one place.
Oh, yes.
I didn't have to go to this location for blood work, another location to read the blood work, and then another location for a procedure, then another location to see if that procedure worked, and then being asked by the different doctors the same questions because they hadn't taken notes or shared the notes. So you having to remember your story. And of course, with chemo brain, that's kind of hard. So, you know, it's not optimal to drive all over. And the one thing I tell a lot of people is cancer doesn't wait. So why should you wait? You know, I mean,
Exactly.
you know, I would go to CTCA in the morning at about 9 o'clock. They draw blood. I'd have the results at 11, and I'm sitting in the chair at 11:30. So there was no waiting around. I think that was also a factor, because, you know, waiting 2 weeks versus 2 hours to me makes a difference.
Deal. Very much so.
And then, you know, with the Cancer Fighters, what I try to do is I let people know, you know, my experience. I'm not a doctor. I just tell them, you know, what I experienced. There were some people that had very mild side effects from the chemo. There's people like me that had horrible effects from the chemo. So, I mean, I'm sure it runs the entire gamut. There's a lot of scared people out there about the surgery. My colon cancer, when they tried to put me back together, was unsuccessful. So I had an ileostomy for almost a year. And that gave the colon time to heal. So I've had an ileostomy bag, and I speak to ileostomy and colonoscopy bag patients or potential patients, because that's a scary aspect. I mean, that's a life-changing thing. Just to give you an idea, I mean, I made it work because, you know, I went to several weddings and I went to a funeral with the ileostomy bag on, and no one knew it.
You learn how to take care of everything like that.
And I learned how to take care of it. I work with the ileostomy nurses at CTCA and have done 2 classes with patients that have just received them to give them tips and tricks and ideas and stuff like that. That was a while back. You research yourself because it's out there. There's resources like, I guess, what we're doing now. Other people, I looked at so many YouTube videos, talked to, internet searches, stuff like that, statistics, and those tell you the numbers, but the real deal is actually hearing it from someone who's been there, good, bad, and ugly, and then make your own mind up. But then also look at the success stories from it. And that's where CTCA kind of shines, because you're not going to find another place that's got as passionate a patient, I guess.
Well, you've got to take one step at a time. Don't take everything right here, 500 pounds of mess, and expect to fix it in a day. It's just not going to happen. But take it one step at a time. Take a breath and walk through it.
I'm all about solve one problem, move to the next, solve one problem, move to the next. If you take on too much, you're going to get overwhelmed. If you keep it simple, chop it up, and just keep pushing forward, it can happen. And you got to start, you have to ask the smart questions, and the smart questions come from asking other people what they asked and got the wrong answers. So you got to filter out through a lot of wrong stuff, but then the path forward will make itself obvious.
Yes, definitely.
I'm here 7 years later. I'm back in the gym. I'm helping the younger crowd now, work out properly, because I see a lot of that, because I don't want them to injure themselves. Trying to get back in shape, and hopefully maybe one day do another competition. I just want to, let people know that, I've been through the ringer and I've come out, and I'm not special, and it can happen to them too. Just don't take your eye off the prize, and always have something to shoot for, a loved one, a goal, an idea, a project, anything. Just, you got to have a goal. And my goal was to survive. And then after that is to let people know you can survive. And then after that, to thrive.
That's true. It's a blessing all in all.